because of that, you do need to grieve over the parents that you didn't have. They were not the parent that you needed. No matter what they have done for you, it doesn't matter. It wasn't good enough. Even if they did the best they could with what they had, we all hear that. It wasn't good enough, and that's okay to admit. Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about breaking generational trauma and narcissistic parenting. This video will be helpful for anyone that's interested in how to break the cycle of abuse in their family. So abuse is passed down from generation to generation. They're like, okay, this is all I know, this is what my parent did, so I'm going to do it with my kids, and they continue on over and over again. Our parents do with what they have, and their parents did the same thing, and you know, it goes all the way to the beginning of time. They just used the knowledge they had to raise children. There was no real handbook. Over time, we've educated ourselves, we have done studies, and psychology has been developed, and so over time I think we've learned how to treat our children better and better. But not everyone cares about educating ourselves about how to treat children. So you may be the one who breaks the generational curse and breaks the generational trauma for your kids or for your family members. So we're going to talk about 8 ways of how you can break your generational trauma. And when you have generational trauma, generally what has been passed down are narcissistic traits, selfishness, manipulation, gaslighting, crossing of boundaries. And at some point, someone in the bloodline is like, hey, this isn't okay. I don't like the way I'm being treated. I don't like the way my family does things, so I'm gonna change it. If you want to know more about narcissism, I will leave my video playlist on narcissism here. But today we're gonna talk mainly about breaking the cycle. So the first thing, and this isn't in any particular order, but the first thing is emotional regulation. I could go on and on about the importance of emotional regulation, but when you grow up in abusive homes, narcissistic homes, unhealthy homes, there is a lack of emotional regulation. Why does it matter? Because emotional regulation, how we deal with our emotions, it affects all of our relationships. It affects the way, the decisions we make, it affects the way that we deal with things. And so when we have healthy emotional regulation, we will make better decisions, we will deal with our children better, we will deal with the people around us better, and it's just overall healthier. When you grow up in unhealthy homes, there's a lack of emotional regulation. That is a skill that has to be taught. It is not something that we're just born with. We have to be taught how to emotionally regulate. I actually have a whole workbook that I'll leave right here on emotional regulation. It's a journal and a workbook. So I talk about the steps of emotional regulation, but I also have 60 days worth of emotional regulation journal entries, questions you ask yourself that will help you so you can learn how to emotionally regulate. Check it out, it's on Amazon. I'm going to eventually make it into an ebook where you can write on it. But I recommend, if you struggle with emotional regulation, to start there. See, with emotions, our emotions are here to tell us something. They have a purpose. And so we don't want to stop having our emotions. And a lot of times in unhealthy upbringings, we were taught to have shame for our emotions, hide them, suppress them, or we were taught they were just wrong in general to have based on the reaction that our parents had towards us. We are taught how to have our emotions and how to express our emotions through our parents. So when we're taught to feel shame for our emotions, we then think that they're things we shouldn't have, and then it causes negative side effects. Things like you become manipulative because you have unattended needs that are not met, but you feel shame for having these needs, and also it can come out in anger. So the point of emotional regulation is to understand, like, your emotions are important to have and identify them and acknowledge them, but how you express them is completely in your control. When you're not taught how to express your emotions, then you see them as bad because you see negative things happen because you're not taught how to deal with your emotions. So when it comes to emotional regulation, you want to identify what is making you upset. You want to self-soothe. You want to challenge the story that you're telling yourself, because there is a certain story that you're telling yourself. And then once you shift that story, you're able to actually identify what you need, because once you come down from that big reaction, you're less in your emotional reactive part of your brain, and you're more in your cognitive functioning part of your brain. You're able to think, okay, I'm feeling this emotion, because emotion doesn't just go away just because you emotionally regulated. You're able to better identify what you actually need, and then you can attend to that need rather than expressing the emotion and getting temporary comfort rather than long-term satisfaction. So that's why emotional regulation is so important, because it completely alters the way that you react to situations, and your situations in your life will change based on your emotional reaction. I think emotional regulation could do so much for the world. It would heal so many things, but that's a whole nother spiel. And again, you can find all of this in my workbook. Highly recommend. Or if you struggle with anxiety, you already know I have my Anxiety at the Root book, which I will also leave right here. We go in depth about how to heal the trauma in the body and the mind. The next is acknowledge how you were wronged. Oftentimes when you grow up in abusive homes, especially if you grow up in emotionally abusive homes where all of your physical needs were met, it's hard for you to acknowledge where you were wrong. You were manipulated, you were guilted to believe that you had a good family. So it's hard for you to say, hey, they did this thing to me, because of how much guilt you carry. But it's so important for you to acknowledge the areas that they have failed you. Even if there's been areas they've been good to you, there have been areas that have failed you. How do you know? Because of the way that's affecting you now. Look at your life now. Are there areas in your life that are suffering because of your upbringing? Do you struggle with people pleasing? Do you struggle with guilt? Do you struggle with being afraid to make decisions? Do you struggle with enmeshment, where you have to depend on your parents for their okay of your opinions? Like, you look at the areas of your life, and that's how you can tell if you've been hurt by your family and if they've wronged you. Once you can acknowledge it, then you can actually do the healing. Same way when you're an alcoholic. You can't fight alcoholism and actually get the help you need if you keep pretending you're not an alcoholic. So you need to acknowledge where you have been wronged and the areas that you're hurting, so you can actually do something about it. The next is grieving the parents you didn't have. You had parents, but they didn't give you the things that you needed. And I feel like most people that have been through abuse, not everybody, not everyone's story is the same, but most people, they have this fight inside of them where they want to stay connected to their parents and they don't want to abandon them the way that they've been abandoned, or they have this connection. They feel bad. They feel bad for saying that their parents were not good parents. Some people feel very comfortable, especially if they've done a lot of damage. It's okay. It's okay to feel how you feel. There's no right or wrong way to feel when it comes to dealing with a rough upbringing. But if you're someone that struggles with admitting that you had parents that didn't give you the things that you needed, whatever their excuses, we don't care. You still need to acknowledge you and the fact that you were hurt and you were wronged and it wasn't okay or fair what happened to you. And so because of that, you do need to grieve over the parents that you didn't have. They were not the parent that you needed. No matter what they have done for you, it doesn't matter. It wasn't good enough. Even if they did the best they could with what they had, we all hear that. It wasn't good enough, and that's okay to admit. We have to be sad for ourselves and not having what we wanted. Same way when people have to grieve over things that they wish they had that they didn't have. We all need to do that. Otherwise, we don't really heal. Sadness is here to help us process things and move forward. So if you're not processing the pain that you feel, then you're not going to be able to move forward. So you do have to grieve. You have to imagine like the family and the idea and the fantasy that you had of your upbringing and your family wasn't real, and it wasn't the way that you wanted. This sounds really harsh, I'm sorry, but reality's harsh. The family that you wish you had wasn't there, that you didn't have that, and so you need to be sad. And this won't be something that you just feel sad once. Like, there's gonna be moments sometimes you just feel sad, maybe something reminds you of that, like you see a family in the park, you just get sad, or a movie, and like it's gonna be a constant grieving is a constant thing. You don't just one day wake up and like, oh, I feel better. Like, it will get easier over time, but having abusive parents and having trauma is something that you generally do grieve over. It's just not as intense as in the beginning. Something that comes up every once in a while, but it is something that you will feel sad over. And it's okay to feel sad for yourself and to empathize with yourself. It's so important in your healing journey. The next thing to do is to self-parent. So because you didn't have the parents that you needed in your upbringing, you have to now attend to your needs. And I know a lot of us will be like, oh, that's so unfair. Like, I didn't do the damage, now I have to clean it up. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is everyone's journey. Everyone has a journey they have to go through, and they gotta, in order, you know, it wasn't your fault what happened, but how you deal with it now is up to you. If you want to just pity yourself all day long and not do anything about it, that's your prerogative, but you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting anybody else. You're hurting yourself. Your parents aren't hurting. They're over there doing their own thing. You're the one that's hurting from not moving forward. So you got to be the one that picks up the pieces and gets yourself together. No matter how unfair that is, this is just the cards you were dealt with, and sometimes life is unfair. So part of that is being able to self-parent. It's being the parent that you didn't have. It's you learning the phrases you needed, like, I love you, I'm so proud of you, I'm so glad you're here, I love who you are becoming. You know, all the things that you need to hear and you wish you heard, that's what you have to tell yourself. And kind of in a combination with that, the next thing is self-care. You have to learn how to care for yourself. Part of self-parenting is learning not only to love yourself, but it's also learning how to care for yourself, attending to your needs. A lot of us weren't taught what our needs were, so you now have to learn what are your needs. You may have been suppressed or made to feel guilt for having needs. You have to process that and get through that and say, like, this isn't my guilt to take on, this is my parents' guilt to take on. And I think it's good to take care of my needs, and it's okay to be a little selfish. It's so important to be a little selfish. You can't take care of other people, and you can't be your authentic self if you don't care for yourself. You can't show up good in other environments if you're not good. So that's why you have to care for yourself and think, okay, what do I need right now? I notice I'm a little angrier these days. Okay, what do I need? I notice that I've been people pleasing too much, so I need to take a step back and set more boundaries. Like, you learn what you need based on what's going on in your life. The next is rewrite the narrative. So a lot of us in generational trauma, we're brought up to think, oh, you know, your life is just meant to fail. Like, you form these unhealthy beliefs because of your parent, because they project their own sad lives onto other people. Like, you're a nobody, you're going nowhere, you're a bum. Like, all these negative traits and negative things they project onto you. You have to rewrite that narrative. Just because you were born into an environment that set you up for failure doesn't mean you have to stay set and you can't change the path. It's in your hands. Their beliefs don't have to be yours. When you believe something, your brain will try to find evidence to back up that belief. So if you believe the things that your parents told you, you're gonna look for evidence to back that up, or your brain is gonna look for that evidence to back it up. You can absolutely change that. So many people have gotten out of bad situations because they believed it was possible and they put themselves in positions to get themselves out of it. Other people that are stuck in their generational trauma is because they stayed believing what their unhealthy parents' mindset told them to believe. So you were absolutely in control of rewriting the narrative. And that's one of the most important parts of breaking generational trauma, is you being the one that stops it. And you don't have to, but this is solely a choice. The next is setting boundaries. I know we all talk about boundaries, so much talk about boundaries. The reason why boundaries are important is because it creates safety for you. It tells people how to treat you. When you grow up in unhealthy environments, safety is not allowed. I think that's actually probably the biggest struggle whenever I talk to people that have trauma. The biggest struggle they have is the lack of feeling safe in the world. They don't trust themselves, they don't trust the world, they feel like anything bad can happen, and they just don't feel safe in themselves and trust in themselves. And so one of the ways to learn how to trust yourself is to create boundaries, and you see, like, hey, I got me, like, I know what I'm doing, I know how to create safety for myself. And that's by having these boundaries, by letting people know in situations like what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. So identify you and what you're comfortable with. Identify if you're a people pleaser, you know, set boundaries. With work, if you're a workaholic, set boundaries. Check them with yourself a lot. See, like, what am I feeling okay with? What do I feel like I can handle? Not based on your guilt or your shame or your anxiety. Identify that. Am I doing this out of guilt or shame or anxiety? Am I doing this out of fear what other people are thinking? Or is this what feels authentic to me? When it feels authentic, you get like this calm feeling. When you feel that anxiety or shame or anything, it's that negative feeling in your stomach. And the last one is building a strong network. Not only do you need support in your life when you didn't have support in your upbringing, but you want to create a family, and we all need each other. It's so important to have people that you can rely on and trust in, and see that the world isn't so scary and bad, because again, we're not supposed to be here alone. A lot of us in our traumas have felt like we were alone and we had to deal with things alone, especially if you're an older sibling. I feel like you had to deal with a lot of the trauma on your own. So you need to build a network of people you can rely on and have that village. We all need a village. So create a village for yourself, especially when you have kids. You're going to need a village. That's so important. It's very rough not having a village. And these are people that you can have good times and bad times. It doesn't have to be you go to them for bad times, but you have good times. You see the joy in life. You see that life isn't so scary and bad after all, and that there is good and kindness. So go off, form a network for yourself. And if you notice that you're feeling more drained than you're feeling more uplifted, then definitely reconsider your network and your friend group. But yes, we need each other. We need our people. Just because your parents couldn't be those people doesn't mean that you can't find good people. And you know, you may find a mentor, maybe someone a little bit older, that can guide you, whether that's a therapist, a coach, a friend, a grandma, whatever it is, an older person. That still can be really beneficial in your healing journey. So what do you guys think? Leave it all in the comments below. And please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone you think may need it. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. We got it done. If someone ever tried to insult me and said, you look like you do your makeup in the dark, they wouldn't be wrong, because I 100% do my makeup in the dark. A lot. I'll just be like, you right. My bad. So what should the thumbnail be for breaking generational trauma? I guess I'm just gonna stare into space. I don't know. It's another rainy day. It's been raining about but I'm like